Hi, my name is Yusuf Ali, aka The Graphic Novelist, and welcome to an episode of Tips and Tricks for the Everyday Designer. As a young designer, it's always important to keep a physical copy of your work on hand. There are many ways of displaying your work, and at times it can be difficult to figure out what fits your personal style. In today's video, we're going to be going through the different types of bindings that can best showcase your design portfolio. The first thing that we need to discuss is the different paper types. The overall thickness of paper is called GSM, which stands for grams per square meter. Grams per square meter is the overall weight of the paper. A higher GSM is thicker and seen as a higher quality paper. Paper comes in multiple different types. There's copy paper, which is your regular paper that you see in office printers, which is around 90 to 120 GSM. Bond and poster paper, which is thicker than your regular office paper and comes in at around 130 to 250 GSM. And finally, there's cardstock, which is the thickest among the three, which comes in at around 260 to 300 GSM. Paper comes in multiple different types of finishes, the most popular being matte and gloss, and the quality of these finishes can vary depending on the stock. Now that you know about the types of paper you can use to print your portfolio, we now need to take a look at the types of binding. When printing your work, there's multiple ways you can produce your finished product. The four popular ways of binding are ring binding, perfect binding, staple binding, and lay flat binding. As it states in the name, ring binding is the process of printing your work on either a single-sided or duplex print. Duplex, that means front to back. And then punching holes into a specified side of your choice so that you can insert a binding ring and press it together. You can either use card or malgré as your backing to give your print the specified sturdiness that you want for it. The finishes on these kind of books are quite professional. They come out quite nice. I find them personally very easy to navigate through as you can just flip them open and close them. They're very large scale friendly, so depending on the body of work you have, it might be the binding for you. Perfect binding is one of the most popular types of binding used. It's literally everywhere. Characterized by its rectangular spine, perfect bound books are made by printing the interior of the book, which is called a book block, cropping it to size and then gluing it inside of the cover and then cropping it to size again. The pages inside of these books need to be imposed correctly on Adobe InDesign. I'll be going through that in another video, but before you get to printing, make sure that you've imposed the book correctly. Duplexes on multiples of 4. The only downside to perfect binding is that it requires a minimum spine size of 3 millimeters. Therefore, you need a minimum page amount of 45 pages to be able to perfect bind. They have a very clean finish to them with a square spine and all the pages being professionally laid out. I'd suggest using this type of binding if you're going to do a compendium or a large body of work. And now to our next form of binding, staple binding. Staple binding is also one of the most popular methods of binding used because it's quick to produce and can be done in a smaller quantity compared to perfect binding. Similarly to perfect binding though, the pages also need to be imposed correctly. The way a staple print is assembled is that the book block is printed, organized correctly, placed on top of the cover, stapled, and then cropped to finished size. After that, the book is then folded in half to be a complete product. Acting as a smaller relative to perfect binding, staple binding is the perfect alternative to perfect binding, especially if you're trying to showcase a smaller body of work. I mean, it gives off a very classy finish and you don't have to go over 45 pages for it. And saving my absolute favorite method of binding for last, lay flat binding. Lay flat binding is not as complex in its setup as you set everything up on a single side spread. The reason for this is that the pages across inside of your book are printed as one singular sheet on adhesive paper. This type of bounding is used to achieve a carryover effect and look and feel to your portfolio so that images run across the page and spread from one side, carrying over into the other side. Lay flat is a hard and sturdy print. I recommend using this type of binding for large drawings and photography in smaller quantities so that you get a good finish on the inside that becomes more of a statement piece. So make sure you group in your best work to have something as a lay flat to do, as these are very expensive to print. The reason for this is that it's material intensive and labor intensive and can cost you a pretty penny for one print. So make sure you got your best work on it. Each of these binding methods have different finishes and appeal to different types of designers. So be sure to pick one that communicates your style. That's it from me. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, click the like button. Also, comment down what you guys want to see from future tips and tricks videos. I do everything from in the Adobe suite to just your general design and artwork stuff. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to add your 3mm of bleed to all of your PDFs. Peace out, guys.